What's up, guys? Welcome to Straight Outta the Bay. The 49ers officially got a W on Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Rams. We 2-2. We gonna talk about it next. But first, let's play the intro.
Roger Goodell.
With the third pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance.
They came back from 35-0 was 35-0 down, I think it was, to win a game. And he was down 35-0 at halftime, and he won the game 38-35.
Was that the Super Bowl?
No.
Exactly.
Oh.
That was. See, like I every time I do that intro, unless you were on with me on that stream, it's always some people don't know the context behind that. But let's talk about this game. Obviously, the Niners got a W, but before we do that, I would like to introduce the crew, the Straight Out of the Bay crew. Next to me, we got Jay in the Bay. How you doing tonight, Jay?
Doing real good. What's good? It's nothing like getting a 49er win, man. Nothing like it.
Down here, we got my man, Bay Area Baller, Madden Champ. How you doing tonight?
I'm feeling great. 49ers just dominated. Can't wait to talk about it.
And we got, last but not least, the man himself. We got Keltz Chronicles. Rich, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Amin. Hopefully you're doing well and faithful. Rise up. Yee! Let's get it.
Let's do it. Without a further ado, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, last week, a lot of us fans, including myself, were very critical of Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo came out and went 16 for 27, threw for 239 yards, and threw a touchdown and had no interceptions. Can we just give some props for Jimmy Garoppolo for doing that real quick? Yes. What was your guys' thoughts about Jimmy Garoppolo's performance? What were some of your takeaways? And do you think Jimmy Garoppolo can sustain this level of success or play this well as the season progresses? Let's start off with Jay in the Bay. What was your thoughts on Jimmy's performance tonight?
I thought Jimmy played well. His first drive, he was really accurate. I think he was 4 or 5. He was making good decisions with the ball. He was getting the ball out quickly to his weapons. So I thought Jimmy played. I thought Jimmy played pretty well. I would also say that he didn't see some deep throws, some deep opportunities, but that's just not Jimmy. And I think he's proven that over the last few years. So it's kind of, I guess you could say, it's kind of dumb to expect him to hold the ball a little bit longer and look for, deep opportunities in the passing game. But he's got that horizontal passing game on lock, especially when he's making accurate throws. And I thought he played good enough to win. It was definitely a huge improvement from last week against Denver. So, and clap for Jimmy.
No doubt. I thought Jimmy played well tonight. The scheme, I thought Kyle did a great job scheming it up for Jimmy. Debo had a couple of long screen passes, took the 57-yard touchdown screen pass to the house. And so I thought some of it was scheme, but it wasn't all scheme. Jimmy hit a nice seam route to George Kittle, some over routes to Debo. Really, Jimmy played really good. And like Jay and the Bay touched on, no turnovers. Jimmy didn't do any stupid stuff, which I feel like we get accustomed to, where his one or two boneheaded plays. Tonight, it didn't happen. He played really well. Props to Jimmy.
Real talk, Bay Area and Jay. It's like I think last week I was talking about the quarterbacks like Brad Johnson and who was it, Jim McMahon, Trent Dilfer. One thing they all had in common was minimizing mistakes, whether it was in the playoffs or throughout the season. You go back and look at those guys and the seasons before and after, they had a ton of interceptions. Those specific Super Bowl years, they cut those interceptions in half, cut those mistakes in half. And Jimmy, we just need him to be a good game manager with this defense. He had, one thing I was also talking about Kyle Shanahan was, hey, if something's working, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. And if the screen is working, do it keep going screen, slant. If that's his bread and butter, hey, props to Jimmy. He was executing. He did exactly what he needed to do. Didn't make the bonehead plays. Great job, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo did what he was asked to do, right? Which is be a good game manager, limit the mistakes, and play smart, complementary football. Jimmy Garoppolo did that. The first drive, you saw him make a couple of nice passes to Jawan Jennings, got the ball out like this, and Jimmy Garoppolo basically did what he was asked to do, right? And as the season progresses, as long as Jimmy Garoppolo can just be a good game manager and limit his mistakes, I'm not worried about the Niners defense. I think the whole panel's not worried about the Niners defense. This Niners defense showed how dominant they are. And obviously, we've seen them do this to the Rams before, but to do that to the Super Bowl champions, that's still impressive, and they still deserve some props for that. So we already know what this defense can do, but if Jimmy Garoppolo can just limit his mistakes and continue to do what he did today, the Niners are sitting all right. And I'll give props to Jimmy Garoppolo. I know a lot of people like to hate on Jimmy Garoppolo, and I know last week I was very critical of Jimmy Garoppolo. But Jimmy Garoppolo bounced back, and he had a great game, in my opinion. So props to Jimmy Garoppolo. I will give him a round of applause to Jimmy. And Jimmy Garoppolo had a great game. He didn't have a turnover, and he played smart, complementary football, and he did what he was asked to do. So great job, Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's talk about the defense. Man, this defense is the real deal. We had like 7 sacks on Matthew Stafford. Kevin Gibbons got one. Hassan Ridgeway got one. Samson Ebukam got one. Nick Bosa got one. And in the secondary was lights out. Now, we obviously know Cooper Kupp went over 100 yards, but Charvarius Ward had a great game. Emmanuel Mosley also had a great game. What were your thoughts on the defense tonight? Let's start this one off with Barry Baller 18.
The defense was lights out, right? And they gave up 3 field goals. So that tells you they were playing that bend but don't break style. Cooper Kupp caught a career-high 14 passes in tonight's game, but they weren't back-breaking catches. They weren't. None of them were touchdown catches. I think that's most important. So the defense was phenomenal. A couple players I'll highlight. I know we all want to hit on some guys. But Nick Bosa, 2 sacks, right? And I thought, we know the interior of the Rams offensive line came in dinged up, and then the center was out for the game in the first quarter. So what does Kosirik do? He cooks up a stunt for Nick Bosa to loop inside, goes right down the A-gap untouched, sacks Stafford. So we attacked the weakness of the Rams offensive line. And then how about Samson Ebukam going after his old team, and he was wrecking havoc. Got a sack, forced a fumble late in the game to just seal the deal. It was a great performance by this defense.
Beautiful, 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 man. Every time I hear the name Samson, it makes me think about Samson in the Bible. He was a very strong man, and it just Samson, just like, I don't know. I just, man, I love that, man. just this whole D, man, is just it's top notch. It looks like it's the real deal. I think we're gonna be this way all year. It reminded me of, like you said, bend but don't break. It reminded me of, giving up, letting like a player in basketball score 25, but as long as they don't, take off for 40, you're good. It also reminded me of last year with Cooper Kupp. I think, shoot, it was kind of like the same thing, but more garbage time last year. But, he had, he's going to eat no matter what. But like you said, it wasn't no game changing plays. Yeah, man, it was just a great night all the way around, 7 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, multiple deflections. What about the MVP that might not get talked about too much, D'Amico Ryans? One thing that D'Amico Ryans did in the game to get into the playoffs last year, in the second half of that game 17, he started to blitz. I said, dude, you got to blitz. Because we had no answer for Kupp. I think Dante Johnson in that game was just getting eaten alive. I was like, all right, man, it's go time. So in this game, it felt like D'Amico Ryans felt the sense of urgency right away and said, you know what? I'm going to do what I did in that second half. I'm going to do it in this first half. And he's blitzing away and we're getting home. And then he let his foot off the gas just a little bit, but brought it right back, just the element of surprise. So from, it's trickling down all the way from D'Amico, the confidence of Hufanga, just the hard work, the dedication, just all of it, the heart, the anticipation, the instincts. Man, you put it in when it's got to be in you, not on you, and you can see it's in Hufanga to the fullest. Let's go. Yes, sir.
Hey, absolutely. I think this is the best defense under Kyle Shanahan's tenure with the 49ers. I know it's only been 4 games, but they've basically been lights out. I got to say huge shout out to everyone in the chat. What's good? Appreciate you guys rocking with us tonight.
Support is definitely appreciated. So shout out to everybody in the chat.
Absolutely. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe as well. But the 49ers, hey, we got 3 turnovers today. One of my keys going into this game was I know Stafford's going to throw up a duck. He always does it against us. And coming into this game, he only had 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. After this game, he's got 6 interceptions. How elite can Stafford be? He's got more interceptions than touchdowns. Those two don't really go together. So I thought, man, we got to get an interception against Stafford, and we got to take it to the house. And that's exactly what Huff did. So, hey, this defense, this team will continue to have to ride the success of the defense. I think the 49ers offense is going to have some big plays here or there, but this defense really sets the tone. And I think that's what offenses will definitely be scared of. So, and also I think we held the Rams to, I think it was 3.6 yards per play, which is pretty good. Opposed to us, we had 6.7 yards per play. So I think that's pretty damn good. Cooper Kupp, he's going to get his, but the biggest stat to me is, well, what do you allow? And we didn't allow any touchdowns this game. So I think that's an A+ job for me.
The defense did what they've been doing the whole entire season, and they did it against a pretty darn good Rams team, Super Bowl champs, and they did what they were basically doing the whole entire season. They limited the Broncos offense last week to only 9, which obviously at the end of the game was 11, but we know the 2 points came from Jimmy Garoppolo in the offense. But they did it again against the Rams with Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. The defensive line was getting after Matthew Stafford. He didn't have time to get the ball out. The corners are locked down. Travarius Ward has been a hero for the 49ers, and the Niners needed a cornerback. They needed a CB1. They addressed the position in signing Travarius Ward, and so far he's been looking like a stud. Same thing with Emmanuel Mosley. He's been locked down this whole year. I had a couple of tough matchups with obviously going up against Judy and Sutton last week, going up against DK the week before that, and now going up against Allen Robinson. He's been lights out. I mean, this whole defense has been dominating, and D'Amico Ryans has been doing an excellent job. And if anybody this year really deserves as a coach, if I had to give the coach of the year so far throughout the first 4 seasons, especially for the 49ers, it's D'Amico Ryans, hands down, because of what he's doing with this defense. And this defense we already know is really talented. But if I had to pick between Shanahan and D'Amico, who gets Coach of the Year so far, it's hands down D'Amico Ryans because of what he's doing with this defense. This defense was phenomenal tonight. And I will say, obviously, I think we could have had a couple of more interceptions. I thought, the Tashawn Gibson one was dropped. Fred Warner dropped one nearing the red zone. Dre Greenlaw dropped a couple. There was we could have had a couple of more interceptions on Stafford. He could have probably finished tonight with 4 touchdowns and 7 or 8 interceptions. But can't complain. This defense was lights out. And that's the thing, right? This offense really doesn't have to be a top 10 offense or top 5 offense. They just have to put up enough points, right? And Jimmy Garoppolo just has to be a good game manager. And last week they weren't able to do that, but this week they were, right? The defense was just really darn good, and the offense put up points when they needed to put up points. So overall, great performance. And if the Niners continue to do that the rest of the season, and Jimmy Garoppolo continues to limit his mistakes, and the defense continues to play at a high level, this Niners team can be really successful.
That's facts. And you were talking, about the corners, Mosley, Ward. How about Diamador Lenore? Clutch, third down stops, covering Cooper Kupp. Believe he had a sack tonight on the blitz. I think he did have a sack. And that's what I knew Lenore was going to bring to the table when he took over that nickel position. I know PFF coming out of the draft had him as the top rated tackler at the corner position, and you can see the physicality that he plays with. Not only that, Kevin Givens, thought Kevin Givens was really good.
Wasn't that your guy before the season? Did you say Kevin Givens?
Kevin Givens is my guy. I'm the president of the Kevin Givens fan club.
Yes.
And, I know we're going to get to some negative stuff later on in the show, but we're a bit dinged up at D tackle, and Kevin Givens has been a savior this season. This guy's coming in and he's balling out.
Yeah. And we can't forget about Dre Greenlaw, who led the team in total tackles tonight with 15 tackles. He was flying all over the field. Love the passion and energy that Dre Greenlaw brings to that linebacking room. Glad we signed him for another 2 years.
Now, I also wanted to touch on, I know it's not popping up on the numbers, but because I think people will look at numbers and whatnot, but my eye test says that Fred Warner's having a really good year too. I see him. It feels like he's coming in a split second after someone else on every play, and he's not getting the recognition. He's not getting the picks. He's not leading it. Hey, my eyes aren't lying. That man, Fred Warner, is on a mission. Hey, he almost had a pick tonight, and then also defended Cooper Kupp, I think, one-on-one down near the end zone. And he gets kind of, unless he's not making the interception or pick six like he did, in his earlier days, but it's like, hey, he's having a heck of a year from what I see so far. So props to Fred Warner too, man. And the leadership, it's probably really, rubbing off on everybody around him. He's that one guy that'll challenge people, offense and defense. So, man, it's looking nice.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, Keltz, because it's like, don't let the dropped pick fool you. Fred Warner balled out tonight. He was making plays in coverage, just making tackles, stuff in the run game. So, no doubt.
Yep, and this season, we're seeing a lot more interceptions from this Niners defense, right? Where you look at the past couple of seasons, there hasn't been too many interceptions, and we already have more than 2, 3, 4 picks this year, right? So we're creating and forcing turnovers and getting interceptions, and it's nice, right? As a fan, seeing your team get interceptions, it's nice, it's enjoyable, right? And it gets you all hyped up, it gets you all excited, and it's nice to see that. Let's talk about a guy that did have an interception tonight, and that's just been, in my personal opinion, the MVP of the 49ers so far this year, which is Talanoa Hufanga. When the Niners kicked a field goal, when the Niners didn't go for in the red zone on 4th and goal, they kicked a field goal. The Niners defense makes a stop. Robbie Gould misses a field goal. I'm like, oh no. This might happen, right? This is a one possession game. You got to get a touchdown and get 2-point conversion, and the Rams are right back in it. Lo and behold, a man by the name of Talanoa Hufanga, who a lot of people had question marks about coming into the season, has been dominating, has been a straight up beast for the 49ers, and had the game-winning play for the 49ers with that interception, took it 50 yards and took it to the house for a pick six. What has been your overall thoughts on Talanoa Hufanga this entire season, and what do you think specifically of today, of Talanoa Hufanga's performance today? Jay, you can take this one.
He's been a godsend. I mean, I don't think he really could have played any better. And there were definitely question marks about Hufanga. We've all heard them. He doesn't have the fast 40 speed, but he definitely makes up for that with his instincts and his ability just to make plays around the ball. He comes from a great college at USC, and obviously he's been training with Troy Polamalu, the Hall of Famer, great safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's that greatness, that little bit of greatness that has rubbed off on Hufanga, I think. And he has something that you can't really see on draft day. You can't really see on paper. It's just his instincts in getting to the ball. And we saw that today when he reacted and he got that pick against Stafford. But yeah, he's definitely been, a shocking great player for this 49ers defense. And especially doing this all without Jimmy Ward next to you. I mean, I think that says a lot. But yeah, we're definitely glad to have Talanoa Hufanga, and he's another great 5th round pick from this 49ers Shanahan and Lynch tenure. So I'm glad we have Hufanga, and he's doing excellent.
The Niners find a lot of late round gems, right? We know it obviously with George Kittle, Fred Warner, Hufanga. Like the Niners, like late rounds, they're just great, right? John Lynch is great at finding gems. Adam Peters, that whole coaching staff and the scouts do an amazing job of finding late round talent, and Talanoa Hufanga looks like another one. And he was ranked I think 3rd by Next Gen Stats.
Yeah.
And he's up there. He's been playing arguably the best safety this year. So Talanoa Hufanga has been a beast. I want to say what's up to the real DJ Gravy. He just tapped in. I think this is my first time seeing you in the chat. Appreciate you for tuning in. Yes, the Niners did beat the Rams, and yes, FLA, man. Moving on to a question that I have for you guys. Obviously, we know that the Niners had a bad week last week. This week, we obviously know what the Niners did. But in your opinion, do you think the 49ers are still Super Bowl contenders? The Niners obviously have some injuries with Trent Williams. Aziz is out. We have some injuries. But based off what you've seen so far throughout the first 4 weeks of the season, which hasn't been the most consistent, obviously, right? We've had some good performances. We've had some good things to take away from each game. We've had some bad things to take away from each game. But would you still say that the 49ers are Super Bowl contenders in your opinion? Rich, why don't you start this one off?
I make one prediction every year, man. And my one prediction, you could call me crazy. You could call me a homer. My one prediction is was 16-4, man. That's playoffs included. So, I don't waver from that. I believe, even if week to week, I might get fired up, I might get disappointed and whatnot. But hey, with the defense like this, if we continue this defense and we start to get a little more healthy, we got some other pieces coming back, we could beat anybody in the NFL. If Jimmy limits, like I was saying before the show started, there's some of these Super Bowl teams, the Trent Dilfers and the Brad Johnsons and Jim McMahons, just to name a couple, Joe Flacco's. A lot of those guys, they limited their mistakes, and if Jimmy can limit mistakes, cut those mistakes in half, just be a good game manager, get the ball in the playmakers' hands like we seen with Debo tonight. Absolutely, man. I feel like, hey, we could beat anybody. Just keep playing efficient. Don't shoot yourself in the foot, limit the turnovers. And yeah, man, we could ride this thing all the way. And I think the biggest factor too is a team can't just come and pick on one of our corners anymore. They can't just say, hey, you know what? We're going to go take advantage of Josh Norman. Hey, you know what? Because when you're on the island, that's an easy place to take advantage of. And we don't have that weakness no more. So teams are starting to recognize.
It's a strength, Keltz.
Teams are starting to recognize. Teams are going to continue to learn. It's just such a no team. Each team is going to continue to learn. And then on top of it, what a surprise Gibson has been. I mean, there was question marks about the safeties. And for me, I was one of those people like Jay defending Hufanga hey, man, hey, it's 40 speed don't matter. It's a little overrated because I remember there's a guy who's named the GOAT, Jerry Rice, who's right behind me up over here. Well, I think Jerry ran like a 4.6 or 4, whatever it was, but that man had some incredible work ethic, running up the hills, probably the opposite of Hufanga on the instincts, but on the offensive side, once you pay attention to details and put that dedication and that heart, that's one thing you cannot teach. You can't teach a man about their heart and just the level of joy that they bring in the locker room. And then not just being a jokester, but teaching people how to enjoy the game. You heard Hufanga mic'd up, I think it was last year, but he was just super confident, man. He knows the right times when to joke and when to flip the switch. And it's a beautiful thing. MVP for sure in the first part of the season. I don't even know what you asked me, Amin.
Luchu said Jerry Rice was at the game. They showed him like after the Niners scored touchdowns, and he was hyped. Like Jerry Rice was hyped, man. Like, man, it's still nice to see Jerry Rice around, right? He's still involved with the organization, which you'd love to see, right? Same thing with Steve Young. Steve Young obviously has his job at ESPN, but he's still involved with the 49ers organization. Both Jerry Rice and Steve Young, hanged out with and talked to Trey Lance in the offseason, gave Trey Lance some words of advice. So it's obviously nice to see Jerry at the game, and you could tell he was happy with the 49ers performance tonight.
You could see when someone truly loves the game, and that's that part that's that missing X factor. I think that the great ones have, that the Steph Currys and the Jerry Rices have, is that love for it. So, and it looks like Hufanga got that, man. Hopefully we get to continue to see him build one after another.
Not only that, Amin, I know you were at a couple of those training camp practices. Who was the first player out there every day?
Every day. I think maybe one I think he missed, but I think outside of that, like every single day, Talanoa Hufanga was the first player out there, right? That just shows you about his dedication, right? How much he loves this game and how, and that's the thing, right? Same thing with Trey Lance. Obviously he's out for the year, but you saw Trey Lance putting in the work in the offseason, right? So you look at guys like Talanoa Hufanga and guys that want to be great in this league, they put in the work. They understand that we have to put in the work in order to be great. We have to hustle. We have to grind. We have to do the best that we can. We have to give it our all on every single rep, every single play. And you could tell Talanoa Hufanga does that. He loves the game. You see the 100% energy that he brings. And Talanoa Hufanga, man, he's been a huge bright spot of this defense, and just the energy that he brings to this defense, it's been great. And Talanoa Hufanga has just been something special this year.
No doubt. And I want to tackle this question, are the 49ers Super Bowl contenders? Because I think they are. Anytime you have the best defense in the NFL, we know defense wins championships. I made this parallel before, but I'm looking at the 2000 Ravens and their recipe for success. It was the defense. David in the comments, if Trent Dilfer can do it, why can't Jimmy G? And that's the 2000 Ravens. So if the defense is going to play, and I think they're going to keep it up, D'Amico's scheming things up nicely. We're getting just enough out of the running game. I feel like there could be another element to the run game. Jeff Wilson, we know we had the nice 37-yard scamper tonight for the touchdown. Jeff Wilson looked pretty good. Yeah. But and who knows, maybe it's Eli Mitchell that can give us that boost later on in the season and into the playoffs, because I think if you're going to win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G, the run game has to be supreme. So yes, we're Super Bowl contenders, but we still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, as Bay Area Baller said it, man, with this defense, anything is possible. As long as Jimmy continues to play turnover-free football. I think we had about 5 penalties, so it's not terrible, but it could be better. I think anything is possible, but we still got to take it game by game. We still have some tough opponents on the regular season schedule, but hey, we put out some good film today, that's for sure. And there's nothing like getting a win at home against a division rival, against the hated LA Rams. Man, yeah, this one was sweet. This victory was sweet for sure.
There's 2 things that I would say are big things that in order for the 49ers to be Super Bowl contenders have to go right. Is that Jimmy Garoppolo has to be a great game manager, right? Just has to do what he's supposed to do, limit those turnovers, and then we have to be able to stay healthy, right? Because obviously, with this 49ers team, the injuries that we deal with, we've already had some injuries with Jimmy Ward, Shahir, Trent Williams. But if Jimmy Garoppolo can just do what he's asked to do, limit those turnovers, play smart football, make good decisions, that we should be able to be Super Bowl contenders. And we should be Super Bowl contenders, right? We obviously know what this defense can do. It's just about being able to stay healthy. And if Jimmy Garoppolo can just do what he's asked to do, and you made the parallel to the 2000 Ravens, right? We already know the Ravens' defense was kind of like the vocal point, the big part of that team's success. But the thing that was kind of the X factor was that Trent Dilfer didn't make mistakes, and he limited those mistakes. And if Jimmy Garoppolo can do that, this 49ers team can be Super Bowl contenders. And if the Niners can also stay healthy, this team can also be Super Bowl contenders. So, I mean, overall, yes, 49ers can still be Super Bowl contenders. And even with Trey Lance out, we've seen them being able to make the playoffs and have deep playoff runs with Jimmy Garoppolo. And last year, this defense definitely got better than what it was last year. So the defense is already better. It's just Jimmy Garoppolo. Can you limit those turnovers? Can you limit those mistakes in crucial parts of the game? And if you can do that, this Niners team can be a successful team, and this Niners team can make a deep playoff run. We have a question from Grandizer12. He says, question to each person on the panel. Who is your 49ers player of the game? Is it the game that's the 49ers on track? Thanks. If you guys don't mind, I could take this one first.
Yeah.
In fact,
go ahead.
Obviously, on the defensive side, I think it was Talanoa Hufanga. And then, obviously, offensive.
Whoa. Who's your player of the game, Amin? You don't get to pick multiple. You don't get to pick multiple.
All right. I'll go Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel had a phenomenal game. Even though I think Hufanga had a great game, but without Deebo Samuel having the impact that he had today with that deep touchdown, and Deebo just did Deebo things, right? Deebo has that dog in him. Deebo broke 3 tackles. Jalen Ramsey even broke Jalen Ramsey's tackle at the end. But if I had to pick one player, I would say Deebo Samuel. He'd be my player of the game. And this is the game that gets the 49ers on track. I mean, it got them on track last year, right? Obviously, you came off of that embarrassing loss to the Cardinals. And then last year, the 49ers played the Rams, and the season kind of changed, and they started winning some football games. But I think this could possibly be the game that gets the 49ers on track. And like I said, the big thing that I think has a huge impact on this team's success this year is if Jimmy Garoppolo can limit his mistakes and if the team can stay healthy. And if we can do both of those things and Jimmy Garoppolo can continue to play the way that he did tonight, I think this team can be successful. So, yes, I think this potentially probably was the game that gets the 49ers on track. And if I had to pick a player of the game, I think it was hands down Deebo Samuel. And the funny thing was I was playing Deebo in fantasy this week. So Deebo was popping off in the first half, and I'm like, oh, this is great. But I'm like, no. And I didn't start Rashad Penny, and I didn't start Josh Jacobs. I lost 60 points in fantasy this week. And Deebo Samuel was popping off in the first half, and I'm like, oh, yikes. Deebo might put up 40 on me, and I might take an L in fantasy this week. But Deebo did what he did. We obviously won the football game, and I won in fantasy this week, so everything went well. But if you want to answer this question next, Jay, you could take this one.
I got to give it to a unit, and I'm going to give it to the offensive line. They are the players of the game. To play a division rival at home without Trent Williams, the big silver back, and also without Daniel Brunskill. We know he's the Aaron Donald antidote, but it didn't matter. I know Brunskill got in a little bit, but, Aaron Donald did not have a serious impact on this game. No Rams defensive lineman got a sack on our quarterback, Jimmy G. So I'm going to give it to the entire offensive line. They did a hell of a job. And if we can continue playing like this, anything is possible, like KG said.
Damn you, Jay. I was going to purposely go outside of the box and take someone that I knew none of you guys would take. And
be different.
You great minds think alike because you just you shot the shot first. Go ahead.
Well,
Molly.
I got my guy, and to be honest, it's probably Deebo, but I'm gonna play off of Deebo, and it's Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy who was hitting Deebo on these screen passes. But not only that, wasn't all screens. Yeah, they hit some stuff behind the line. He hit Ayuk on a nice over route, some slants. We know Jimmy Garoppolo, he likes the slant pass. That's something that he's good at. Not George Kittle. Would I like to see George Kittle get more targets in the future? Yes, but there were a couple key targets. A nice seam route where Jimmy zipped it right past the linebacker. So Jimmy, and most importantly, like I said, Jimmy didn't do no stupid shit. So that's what's most important.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Hey, man, go ahead, bro.
George Kittle almost had that toe tap, that nice toe tap. I was like, damn, George, like, oh, he did it. And then I was like, that was just barely had his foot on the line. But George Kittle almost had the catch of the game, man. That was a nice catch if it was not overturned. But and Jimmy put it perfectly. Like, Jimmy put it right there where George Kittle could make a play on it, and George Kittle almost did, man. But obviously, it would be nice to see George Kittle more involved, but the Niners got the W, and Jimmy Garoppolo played well, and I can't complain, right? As long as we win football games, that's all that matters. So overall, I'm satisfied, and I know I can go to school tomorrow morning a happy person.
Yes, sir. Real talk. Yep. You got some friends that are Seahawks fans too, right? Amin?
I wouldn't necessarily call them my friends.
Or friend, but
I got a Broncos fan at school. I got some Seahawks fans at school. So yeah, last week was tough. Last week was very miserable for me. Like I showed up to school. I've already said this before. Broncos fans sitting there waiting for me, talking about Jimmy G, and I had to deal with that for a whole week. But now that the Niners got a W, and then the Broncos lost yesterday, so I kind of I had to give it back to him a little bit. But
go, Jimmy, go.
Man, Jimmy, man, Jimmy played a great game. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. Jimmy played a great game. He didn't make any mistakes. And listen, I want to ask you guys a question. Did the throw that Jimmy G threw to Deebo Samuel, or Deebo took it to the house?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a bad throw by Jimmy, or do you think that was do you think that was a bad throw by Jimmy, or do you think it was a better play on the ball by Deebo Samuel? Like, what do you think? Do you think it was a good throw, bad throw? Like, what was your whole opinion on it? Peyton Manning said it was a good throw if he intended to. Some people said that was a better play by Deebo Samuel. What's your guys' opinion on it?
When I first seen it, I was like, oh man, I was close to a pick six. And then when I re-seen it, I was like, hold on a minute. If he purposely put it where he put it, he put it where, up high where the dude couldn't come in and swoop on it. I think I didn't really write notes on the actual throw. Or yeah, I did. But then I switched it up after I seen it. And I think it was a good throw, man. And just to talk about, that was the longest play of the year. And how about Deebo on how he laid Ramsey down, though, with all the stuff that Ramsey talks and, just the lack of love, just the hate that each team got for each other. That was beautiful, man. Just that play in general. And if Jimmy purposely put it there, then that was an amazing throw. He put it only where Deebo could go up and get it. That's what I saw.
I thought it was a good throw. And then Deebo, hell of a run. How about those Rams defenders just diving at Deebo's feet? They didn't want to hit that man.
Nah.
Yeah, I don't know where else Jimmy would throw that ball. The defender was right there. The defender was right on Deebo's hip, had good coverage. So Jimmy threw it high, and Deebo caught the ball. That's what you're taught as a receiver, catch the ball at its highest point. And that's what Deebo did. And what makes him special is what he did after the catch. And as I said before, those are the explosive plays for the 49ers. Get the ball in Deebo's hands. Get the ball in the George Kittle's hands, Ayuk hands, and let them go to work. And as you mentioned earlier, I do want to see George Kittle get more involved in the offense. He's a glorified left tackle right now. Come on. He didn't get any targets in the first half. That was disappointing. That's something that stood out to me. But I think he had at least 3 targets in the second half. So I guess Jimmy decided to get him involved later. But if we want to go where we want to go, I think Kittle, Deebo, and Ayuk, those got to be. And Jennings, we didn't even talk about Jennings. Jennings had a few third down catches. Jimmy loves to go to Juwan Jennings on third down. So he played well as well. And Juice
also had a drop.
Yes. Wait, Bear Ball, I apologize, but let's talk about Juice real quick. Juice got involved in the offense, and it's so nice to see that because Juice is a weapon, And we obviously use him a lot in the run sets, but Juice can also catch the football, and he can make amazing plays. You saw that last week in Denver with the toe tap. And this week he had that ball. He caught a ball where he ran down the sideline. It was down the right sideline, got a big gain. And seeing Juice more involved in this offense week by week, it's great to see that. It's honestly great. And I want Juice to be more involved in this offense. It's fun to see, obviously. And Juice can make some plays also. So it was nice to see him getting into this game. I want to say what's up to Livy's World. I've never seen you before in the chat, so I appreciate you. I appreciate you for tuning in. We have Daniel Tate says, Jekyll Hyde Jimmy, one disaster, one good game, etc.
Well, hopefully he can string together some good ones.
Yep. John says Aaron Donald left the game salty too with no handshake. There was a couple of fights in this game. Debo, Ayuk, and Ramsey were going back and forth a little bit. They were having their little scuffle. And I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a fan that ran on the field. And I heard Bobby Wagner straight up truck the man.
The video's out on Twitter. That was the Rams' best defensive play all game, man. Fan off the field.
They certainly couldn't tackle Debo, so they had to take it out on the dude in the pink tutu with the smoke. Hey, he might get a fine from the NFL because it was helmet to no helmet. This dude just running on the field just took Bobby Wagner's helmet to the face.
Oh, I got to see it.
Yep.
The dude on the field you're talking about?
Yeah. He went down. He went down.
I can't wait to see that one. But it reminds me of something out of an Adam Sandler movie or something. Right up. It just does.
Really did.
What's up, the young Montana?
Appreciate
Let's talk about the negatives. I don't really think there was many negatives to this 49ers game. I think the offensive line, the offense had a great game in general. The defense had a great game in general. But do any of you have any negatives from this game? Did you see something that you didn't like or that you thought could be improved in this game?
I mean, of course, Jimmy being Jimmy, he missed on a couple, he missed Warner, the tight end. And then, there was another play where Juice was wide open, whatever. But, he didn't make the big mistakes. And then even on the Givens penalty, I think the center kind of juked him out. You know what I'm saying? That was just like a little, there just really wasn't too many. Even it's like all the negatives, there's kind of like it was either expected or you could make a case of why it's not a negative. Even when Kyle Shanahan didn't go for it on the goal line, hey, maybe he's understanding he has the kind of defense to where every point matters. So it's like, I didn't really see a whole lot. Jalen Ramsey and Ayuk got into it. Man, I love to see that, just showing that kind of fire and stuff, especially versus these two teams. But it's hard for me to think about the negatives, and that's a good thing.
I think the biggest negative is probably we got to look at the interior of the D-line.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Armstead re-aggravated at least I think it's a re-aggravation. They called it a foot. He came in with a foot injury. So I'm thinking it's a re-aggravation. The plantar fasciitis is no joke, man. If that thing starts, it can give you a hard time. It's hard to stay on the field. So that's a negative. And darn, I have one more. Go ahead, Jay. If it comes back to me, I'll throw it out there.
Hey, absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Robbie Gould missed field goal.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jay, but the Robbie Gould missed field goal. You got to nail that one to make it the 2-possession game. It's a 42-yarder. Robbie Gould, we know you're not hitting 56, 57-yarders. So it's like you got to be money from that. Anything 45 and under, it's like we expect Robbie to hit it, and he usually does.
Yeah. But
tonight he missed it. It could have ended up biting him, but it turns out Hufanga got his back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say Colton McKivitz, he got hurt in this game. I think they said he had a knee injury. He went out, I think, in the fourth quarter, and Jalen Moore came in for him. So who knows how long McKivitz will be out? Hopefully not too long, because I don't think any of us want to see Jalen Moore starting at left tackle. I think that could be a potential negative, but he was decent tonight. As far as other negatives, none really come to mind. I was going to mention the Robbie Gould because that's I mean, come on, man, you're a professional kicker. That's something you got to make. And yeah, I think that's it for me for negatives.
Yeah, there weren't too many negatives in this game. Now, obviously, you could talk about the Robbie Gould field goal. We had a couple of injuries with Armstead. Obviously, Javon Kinlaw wasn't able to go before the game. So there were some negatives. But if you're just talking about specifically the play on the field, not too many penalties from both teams. Offense played well. The defense played great as usual. We had turnovers, and we neutralized the Rams in that offense, and we limited that Rams offense in Matthew Stafford. So overall, not too many negatives from this game. The Niners had a clean game penalty-wise, and they played good football on both sides. So overall, really not too many negatives, and the Niners got the W. So overall, a pretty good game. I wanted to talk about this because it just came to mind. It just came to my mind. But Burford got taken out. He had that one play where he didn't guard Aaron Donald, and he missed completely, and Aaron Donald, came through, and then I think he got taken out of the game for Daniel Brunskill. I didn't see him after that. I don't know if he came back into the game, but
It seemed like they were switching them because I thought I saw Burford back in there in the fourth quarter. So I think that, I don't know, maybe they were doing every other series or something with Burford and Brunskill. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I noticed.
I thought it was mostly Brunskill until Burford just popped back in. All of a sudden, they show a replay and it's Burford.
Yeah, that's what I had written down the same thing. Like, hey, man, they keep on. It looked like it was almost every other series for a minute. I was just like, maybe they just had to chew Burford out real quick. Like, hey, this is like one of the best players in the whole entire NFL. Yeah, you gotta yoke up, man. But you get your game in the head. You can't just let him run free at Garoppolo. Like, and hey, props to Garoppolo for getting that.
We're getting it out.
For getting it out and not throwing a pick or, whatever, So, props. That might have just been a moment with the coach. Like, hey, it's go time.
I'm proud of Jimmy for doing that because usually we've seen in the past where Jimmy Garoppolo just stands there and holds the ball and takes the sack. Jimmy Garoppolo got the ball out. Props to Jimmy for that. And overall, this is Jimmy Garoppolo's best game of the season. Even the Seattle game, he was all right, but this is probably Jimmy Garoppolo's best game of the season. And I want to give some props to the O-line. I don't want to talk too much about the O-line because we've already talked about the offense. But I want to give some props to this offensive line. Trent Williams was injured. You're going up against Aaron Donald and that Rams defensive line. And the O-line did a pretty good job considering that you had a couple of rookies, Jake Brendel, first-time starting center, and no Trent Williams. The offensive line had a great game. Allowing a sack on Jimmy Garoppolo, had a clean game. Gave Jimmy Garoppolo time to throw the ball. There was one play where Jimmy Garoppolo had a lot of time to get the ball out, and the pass blocking was phenomenal. But this O-line definitely had a great game, especially considering that Trent Williams wasn't playing. Huge shout out to this offensive line because they definitely played better than I expected, and I think they played better than a lot of Niners fans expected. This offensive line had a heck of a performance tonight.
No doubt. And, when you think the screen game, we know the Niners had success with the screen passes tonight. That's the offensive line getting out and blocking linebackers and safeties in space. So that's another facet of the O-line that's a strength of this team.
Yeah, the offensive line was definitely just, I hear it a lot in football, but they were matriculating. I can't even say the word.
Matriculating.
They were matriculating their way right on over there with Debo. Man, it makes me think of Swami and Boomer, just chopping it up about football. But, just getting that O-line out there, man, it's just I said before the season started that I feel like a lot of things that are doubted on this team are going to wind up surprising us. I said I feel like the offensive line would surprise us before the season started. I was, definitely rooting for Hufanga to come out and shine. And I'm trying to think if there's any other kind of underdogs that were – or Gibson. I said as soon as we got Gibson, I started throwing up stats, a little bit of stats like, hey, watch, we're going to hold it down. Like, don't be surprised when, if Jimmy could keep doing what he's doing, behind the offensive line holding it down, man, it's going to be exciting to see it week to week. Just, hopefully we get to see it build and get better and better and not have a Broncos type game again.
I think Jimmy will play as good as this offensive line allows him to play. We know he's not a mobile quarterback, and if they're able to create a clean pocket for Jimmy, I think this team can go as far as it wants to go. And I know we have a young group up front, but these games I think are like building blocks. And I think each game will see them continually get better. And I think it's great to have Brunskill who could kind of fill in at basically every spot along the offensive line, just in case, hey, if you miss an assignment or you get a penalty, a false start or whatever, then, hey, maybe we'll put in Brunskill just to keep an edge on you. And I think it's always good to have that competitiveness, behind you. So it always keeps you at the top of your game. So, but I think this offensive line will continue to get better, and just hold down the fort until Trent Williams comes back. And, I think we'll be running at all cylinders then.
Did you guys hear what Troy Aikman said? Troy Aikman said Deebo Samuel is his favorite player in the NFL. That's surprising coming from a former Dallas Cowboys quarterback saying that a 49ers player is his favorite player in the NFL. I definitely did not expect to hear that on the broadcast tonight, but that was definitely surprising.
Yeah, Jerry's going to give him a call.
And
Jerry's like, what about CD? Jerry's like, what about CD?
And then he also and then what else? Then he said Juice might be a second.
Yeah.
And then Butt called him out. I think Butt called him out and said something along the lines like, "Man, what happened to you?" Like he's like, "I don't know, man." Like, hey, when players play with heart, it's hard to not like them, man. And that's one thing that Deebo and Juice does, man. That they give it their all, and it's just the 49er way when you're giving it your all, and you're going to see a lot of W's coming when those guys get the ball in their hands and are able to be utilized. You can have all the weapons in the world, or I like it's kind of like Jimmy's the gas. It's like we got this Ferrari, we got this Ferrari, and if that Ferrari don't got no gas in it, it ain't going nowhere. Just hey, if all you got to do is dink and dunk to get these guys, and eventually they're gonna pop something. Just get it in their hands, and we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, I don't see how you can't. Let me just get this out for a second. I don't see how you can't love Deebo Samuel the way he plays. He's very exciting to watch. You don't know where he's going to line up on the offense. It could be he could line up in the backfield. He can line up at the Z, the X, the slot receiver. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he's not going down after the first tackle. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Marshawn Lynch. Like he was just like a bowling ball out there, and a lot of guys were scared to tackle him, and you can't bring him down on the first tackle. So I think that's greatness, recognizing greatness. So definitely looking forward to seeing what Deebo Samuel has in store. And we got a nice 2-game stretch coming up on the road. So that'll leave us in good standing in the NFC West. That's for sure.
What didn't age well was Aaron Donald, who was like, Deebo Samuel. He's like, who? Like Deebo went on MJ. Like he was like, yeah. I took that personally. And Deebo ever since has been popping off on the Rams ever since that day. That's
not working out for Aaron Donald.
Deebo had his Michael Jordan moment. He was like, I took that personally, and he popped off on the Rams ever since. And even now, like he's still popping off on the Rams. Every time we play the Rams, Deebo goes and has like a phenomenal game, has a touchdown over 50 yards. It's just taking over the game offensively. Aaron Donald shouldn't have said that, man. He shouldn't have pissed the man off.
I keep on talking, Donald. Please keep talking. Hey, look, it's almost like the same thing with Jimmy Ward. Like when the Rams get to talking, all of a sudden Jimmy Ward will, and he didn't even play in this game. But it feels like Hufanga is kind of like that's what we've been missing, and you talked about it, Amin, the interceptions. It feels like we have our Deebo on defense with Hufanga. If it feels like we were missing that, you can have Bosa and get the sacks, but we've all been talking about having that ball hawk, game changing. Like you could get the sacks, and yes, that does stuff. But when you're able to score on defense and just everything Hufanga does, man, it's game changing type of stuff, man. And it's just, yeah, man, it's hard not to talk about either one of those guys. So I like, it's kind of coming to a point like, okay, I see what's happening here. Now we have that Deebo on defense. Like, hey, man, let's go. I'm just excited, man. Excited.
Yeah, before we jump into the next topic, I want to give a huge shout out to Shifty's 49ers Talk, another amazing 49ers content creator. Go check out his channel, posts videos every week. An amazing 49ers content creator, very knowledgeable about the team. Go check out Shifty's 49ers Talk if you haven't already. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. He says, great win tonight, things to clean up offensively, but feeling much better about the season compared to last week. Definitely. Hands down, this offense played better, and Jimmy Garoppolo, like we talked about the whole stream, this offense, defense, it was just a great performance of the 49ers overall on both sides. We're gonna leave the Bay. We're gonna leave the Bay. We're gonna take a trip down to London, and we're gonna talk about some of these upcoming games next week. And I'm gonna keep track now. Let's start to keep track on who has a winning record, and who has a losing record on some of these game predictions. But we're leaving the Bay. And we're taking a trip down to London. Giants versus Packers, 6:30 PST, 9:30 EST in London. The 3-1 New York Giants are taking on the 3-1 Green Bay Packers. This is an interesting matchup, right? First time two winning teams have played in London in a while, right? We've obviously seen like Miami versus the Jaguars and, teams with not the best records playing in London. But now we have two winning teams. So, who you got winning this game? Let's start off with Baller on this one. We haven't heard from Baller in a while. Who you got winning this one?
Well, Amin, I'm going to get my cup of tea, and I'm in London, and I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. Daniel Jones, who's, Saquon Barkley's been carrying the Giants, but Daniel Jones hasn't been bad. I know he dinged up his ankle. And Tyrod Taylor came in. He got concussed. So I'm not sure who's going to be the quarterback. It's probably going to be a dinged up Daniel Jones, if I had to guess at this point. So for that reason, the Packers, they just had a tough game against the Patriots. Patriots played them tough. So I think that might kind of wake them up. They snuck out with a win. They're going to London. I think they're going to get a dub.
Very well then, Bay Area. Very well then, mate. No, that's Australia. I don't even know the London accent. But you bloody no. But
don't
man,
look at mine for a reaction.
I think I might take the Cheeseheads. I think man, it's hard to go against Aaron Rodgers, man. But it feels like I've been picking the Packers and the Giants all year. We're doing, we're actually doing a show with Niner Sickness, Beto, where it's a show called The Last Man Standing, where the show is basically just predictions on every single game. And it's hard for me because I've been picking both of these teams all year. The Giants have been one of my underdog teams that I've been picking. So I kind of don't want to go against them, but it's hard to go. Man, this one's tough for me. But yeah, man, something tells me to not go against Aaron Rodgers versus in this particular matchup. Who's at home? Oh, it's London, right? Okay. But who they got on paper for this to be the home team? Does anybody know? It don't matter. But yeah, I'm going Packers.
Would you guys be surprised if I told you that the New York Giants lead the NFL in rushing yards?
No.
Were you guys aware of that? I wasn't aware of that either. I just looked it up.
I was.
But Daniel Jones, along with Saquon Barkley, they have a great rushing attack. I think the Packers defense is like middle of the pack as far as stopping the run.
Man.
But I mean, come on, it's Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones. I mean, come on. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Packers though would win maybe like 23-20. That's what I would say. Packers win.
Now, this is quite an interesting matchup when you look at those teams. The Packers that are 3-1 facing off against the New York Giants. Also 3-1. Quite an interesting matchup. Two winning teams with winning records. And, this is quite an interesting matchup. But at 6:30 in the morning, I personally will not be watching this game. But if I was a betting man, I would probably pick the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers to win this particular football game. And I think it'll be – I can't keep this up.
That was good.
I think it'll be a –
well done, mate. Well done.
Particularly very interesting game and a closer game than most people might expect. But I think if I was a betting man, I would pick the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers to win this one. But I think it'll be closer than many people expect. But I would have to go with the Green Bay Packers.
It's the Rodgers that did it, bro. It's when you said Rodgers that hit it.
Aaron Rodgers.
It's the Rodgers, yeah. well done, Amin.
Moving on to the next game. An interesting game. We have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Ravens. We officially left London. We took the plane back, and now we're down in Baltimore. The Bengals versus the Ravens. The Ravens came off a tough loss against the Buffalo Bills, had the lead, blew it, and the Bengals not off to the greatest start. I mean, Joe Burrow's been struggling early on, had a couple of bounce back games, but they've been struggling. And, but who you got in this one? This is a tough matchup. Ravens and Lamar Jackson that has been playing at an MVP level this year. The Bengals who want to win some games, and they've obviously beaten like teams like the Jets and the Dolphins, but they haven't really, Joe Burrow's been struggling early on. But who do you got winning this one? This was a little bit of a tougher one, but who you guys got?
Hey, well, this is going to be on Sunday Night Football prime time, and it's going to be in Baltimore, so this should be a hell of a game. But the Baltimore, they've kind of wet the bed the last two games. They've had, I think they had at least two 20-point leads that they've blown. They've lost two straight games at home, so they're definitely not playing their best. At least they're not putting together a full four-quarter performance, and I think we've seen the Niners kind of do that as well. The Bengals, they got talent all along the offensive side of the ball. They have talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. I'm going to take the visiting Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Ravens. I think they're going to be a little bit better, a little bit more buttoned up. I think the Ravens, they seem kind of shell-shocked. I mean, you give up those leads, especially at home. I think that's going to have a lasting effect, especially against a division opponent. So I'm taking Cincinnati. I'm taking Cincinnati 27-21.
Ravens. I think J.K. Dobbins has looked good since coming back from his injury. Ravens.
Yeah, I picked both of these teams last week to win. So I think the Bengals, their win was a little like I always felt like they were going to show some fight to just get back, after, losing a couple. But it's kind of like the opposite of what Jay said about the Ravens, where I feel like because of losing the way that they've lost, I don't know, I just see Lamar just being frustrated. So I feel like when you get really heated and when you get frustrated, it's either going to make you or break you. And it's hard to see them, kind of losing 3 straight, at home at that. So, something's telling me to pick the Ravens. So I'm going to just take the Ravens. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a good one for sure.
I'm going with. Should I go with the Bengals? Like, I'm feeling the Bengals. Like, I don't know why. Like, I'm feeling Joey Ice and the Bengals on this one. But like, even though like I know the Ravens are favored, and I probably should pick the Ravens.
It's only 3 points. A 3-point spread is like
something
in my
NFL. Something in my gut is telling me to pick the Cincinnati Bengals. I think we see an upset here, and I think the Cincinnati Bengals get this done. I think it's going to be a major upset, even though the Ravens are favored, and, the Ravens obviously came off a tough loss, but I think the Cincinnati Bengals get this one done. My gut's telling me. I got a gut feeling, even though it's not probably the smartest pick to make on paper.
You're almost swaying me.
It's basically a pick'em game because the home team usually has 3 points. So if the Ravens are favored by 3, then at a neutral site, it's basically a pick'em game. So it's going to be a close game, though. It should be very competitive. 2 great quarterbacks going at it. So
another pick'em game, in my opinion, is the Dallas Cowboys versus the Los Angeles Rams. Dak Prescott, if he can go, is expected to come back this week. I remember when Dak Prescott got hurt. Instantly, the next morning, I had to watch First Take and Stephen A. Smith troll the Dallas Cowboys. But, man, he hasn't been able to do that the last 3 weeks because there's been a guy by the name of Cooper Rush who's been 4-0 as a starter for the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys are sitting nice at 3-1. Man, Cooper Rush been doing a great job as the backup quarterback, and as a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. But let's say hypothetically, if Dak Prescott, he's 50-50. If Cooper Rush is the starting quarterback for this game, who you got? Do you think Cooper Rush can upset the Los Angeles Rams and can get the victory against a good LA Rams team?
Absolutely, man. Hey, Jerry Jones, he doesn't look so crazy anymore when he was talking about, hey, there's not too much drop off between these guys. And regardless of what, you would want to see it for a couple of years to really place any kind of title on somebody or whatever. But hey, man, I mean, the dude, he looks like a polished veteran. He's winning ball games, and he looks like he's one of the main parts for that. And then on top of it, their defense. Man, it's going to be a good game. It's hard to pick. I hate both of these teams almost equally. Almost equally. It would be hard to say which one kind of, there's not too many teams I hate, but it's definitely, the Rams, the Packers, and it's hard to even pick the Packers sometimes, but I'm trying to win some of these dang things. And who would I pick, man? You know what? I think I wouldn't doubt it if Cooper Rush just keeps on winning somehow, some way, man. Until he loses, I'll take the Cowboys.
Go ahead, Jay.
I would say, I definitely don't want to see the Rams win. That's for sure. But I think they lightweight got embarrassed tonight. Honestly, I think they got embarrassed tonight. I know they didn't even score a touchdown in the game. And I think they're going to want to redeem themselves. They'll be at home at Levi South. So I think they're going to redeem themselves. And I think there's going to be an end to this Cooper Rush saga that's going on with the Cowboys. And I think the Rams will probably take care of business at home. Even though I'd rather see the Cowboys win, I'd rather want to see them win. But I think the Rams will redeem themselves and get back on track against the Dallas Cowboys.
I think it's going to be a tight ball game. I'm going to go Rams.
I agree, right? Like, I've seen backup quarterbacks come in and have great games, and Cooper Rush, I think he's been doing a phenomenal job considering that Dak Prescott has been out. But if you look at the teams that he's beaten, right, he's beaten like the New York Giants, which I think was impressive, right? A good New York Giants team starting off the season. But then he beat the Commanders. Like, I haven't seen Cooper Rush go up against a team like the Rams before. So just to pick a safe pick, I would go the Rams. But I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper Rush has a great game and the Cowboys win. I obviously would prefer the Dallas Cowboys to win. But I don't know if Cooper Rush can do it against a team like the Rams. The Rams aren't the Commanders or aren't like the Giants. Even though the Giants have a good record, the Giants I don't think are as good as their record says they are. And then the Rams, I think the Rams get it done. Obviously, like I said, I want the Cowboys to win, but I think the Rams get it done. And I think this will be a test. I think this will be a true test for Cooper Rush to see if he can do it against the good teams. Because the Commanders, to be honest, the Commanders aren't a good team, but the Rams are, and they were the former Super Bowl champions. So it'll be interesting to see what they do against the Los Angeles Rams. But I got to go with the Rams.
Hey, what was the Rams' other win besides? Because all right, so the Rams won. Oh man, it slipped my mind.
Cardinals.
Okay, they won the Cardinals, and then the other win was
Falcons,
and they barely got past. I don't know, man. It feels like the Rams, and I'm not even talking about the Rams versus Cowboys, but the Rams are seeming a little like fraudulent to me. It feels like I don't know, like just top heavy. Of course they are, but like it seems like if Aaron Donald really isn't dominating, or it feels like there's a easy route to almost win the Rams. I don't know. It feels like, of course they got Stafford, Kupp, Ramsey, Donald, and, if you could kind of get past that, it doesn't seem very tough. I know they got some other guys, but it's seeming like the one hit wonder, like I thought, but I'll just leave it at that.
Let's talk about, this is a game that it's not really that hyped, or not really like that great, like not two big names, not two big name teams that are going up against each other. But I think this is a pretty underrated matchup. You got a Saints team, hopefully with Jameis Winston coming back, and you got a Seahawks team that had an offense that put up an offensive juggernaut of a performance on that poor Lions defense. But who you got winning this one? I don't know. This game could go either way. But if you had to pick, who would you pick? Let's start off with Barry or Baller on this one. Who you got, Bay?
Saints are at home.
I think they are.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, that offense put up a lot of points. Talking about the Seahawks, that Seahawks-Lions game was like fireworks over the weekend. But Saints got a tough. I'm going Saints. I think they're going to figure it out. Hopefully, Kamara will be back. Kamara missed last week. Saints.
Who did the Saints? The Saints had Andy Dalton. Is that their backup?
Dalton was playing.
The Red freaking Rocky. I don't know, but man, when everybody was hyping the Saints up before the year, and I don't know, man. It's looking like as much as people were hyping up the Saints, and it feels like that. If anything, we have that defense plus more. I don't know how good the Saints defense is right now, but I don't know. Something just made me not want to believe the Saints for whatever reason. And oddly enough, the Seahawks feel like they're in every game they're playing, besides maybe when they played us. This can be one of my upsets if it is an upset, but yeah, I'll say the Seahawks.
Man, Seahawks in New Orleans. It's going to be a loud crowd in that Mercedes Dome. The 49ers have had a lot of games in New Orleans. Seattle's coming off a great win in Detroit. I think they scored like 45 points. I don't think they'll come close to scoring that against New Orleans this Sunday. But I think their offense right now is playing a little bit better than the Saints. But I think I'm going to take the Saints at home. And I think they're going to bounce back from last week.
I think the Saints bounce back. I think, obviously, offensively, the Seahawks had a great performance last week. But to be fair, they were going up against an atrocious Lions defense. And the Saints defense is a pretty good defense. They got a lot of guys, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. They got a pretty darn good group down there in New Orleans. So I'll go with the Saints. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a back and forth battle, but I think the Saints win this one. If Jameis Winston is playing, I think the Saints win this one. I just have more faith in that defense than I do in that Seattle offense. So I'm going with the New Orleans Saints. And then the last matchup of the day, before we get on out of here, is our 49ers versus Panthers matchup. Quickly, who you got? 49ers or Panthers?
Niners. Niners all day.
Is it going to be raining? No. No, I'm kidding.
Might be a shutout. 49ers might shut out the
Baker
Mayfield.
Hey, let's go.
Baker.
4 picks, shutout. That got me. Just even hearing the word shutout got me fired up. Now I'm really thinking of multiple picks, and yeah. Hey, let's see. Hey, let's get one of those good old. Hey, it would be beautiful to get one of those just good butt whooping, just mollywhopping. It would be nice to just mollywhop a team one time. Who did we take down? The Falcons last year, but just one of those type of Falcon games, but even worse, for sure. Niners, baby.
Niners. Short and simple. Baker ain't bacon, man. Baker ain't bacon. So Niners in this one. Yep, I want to say what's up to the Camper Report real quick. Appreciate you for tuning in. If you haven't already checked out his channel, go subscribe to his channel. Also another phenomenal 49ers content creator. But that basically wraps up the show. The 49ers versus Rams post-game show. Straight out of the Bay. Appreciate the crew for joining me once again on this special Monday. If you haven't already checked out Jay and the Bay's channel, his YouTube channel link is in the description. Go subscribe to his channel. His Twitter is also in the description. Go follow him on Twitter. The link is in the description. And then go check out some of his merch. What's Good merch, right? I think that's what it's called. He's wearing the t-shirt right now. Yes, that link is also in the description on Twitter. The Twitter link. Go buy some merch. Go cop some fire merch. That link is also in the description. If you haven't already subscribed to Bay Area Ballers 18's channel, go subscribe to his channel. He has a phenomenal Niners show called Fired Up with 49er guy on Wednesdays. I think on Wednesdays, right? Tuesdays. Tomorrow,
49ers fired up.
Go check that out. Subscribe to his YouTube channel if you haven't already. Go follow him on Twitter also. That link is also in the description. And then last but not least, my man, Rich, a.k.a. Keltz Chronicles. Go check out his channel at Keltz Chronicles. The link is in the description. And go follow him on Twitter as well. That link is also in the description. All the YouTube, Twitter of all these guys on the panel. If you liked what they had to say tonight, go check out their channels. Go follow them on Twitter. Go show them some love and support. And go check out my man Camper Report also. Go subscribe to his channel. A young 49ers content creator. Posted 2 streams on Saturday. He's also grinding. So go check out his channel if you haven't already. Go subscribe to the Camper Report as well. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please go do that. That would be greatly appreciated. But that basically wraps up the show. Appreciate the Straight Outta Bay crew for joining me tonight on my channel. We will be alternating channels every week. So if you enjoyed the show and you want to see this show again, go subscribe to all these guys' channels. We will be alternating channels every single week. The 49ers got a W. Feels great, baby, like Jimmy Garoppolo says all the time. Feels great, baby. We got the win. But that basically wraps up the show. Hopes everybody has a great rest of their night. 49ers got a W. And we'll see y'all next time. Go Niners.